Well, as the war between Israel and Hamas continues to escalate, and Arab countries like Egypt and Jordan remarkably rule out accepting refugees from that war zone, the Prime Minister has come under pressure to allow fleeing Gazans to enter the UK. So yesterday, Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf called for a Ukraine-style refugee scheme. And the SNP's House of Commons leader, Stephen Flynn, doubled down on that demand earlier today at PMQs. Let's have a watch.
I ask the Prime Minister what early consideration, if any, his government has given to the creation of a refugee resettlement scheme.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that we are already one of the most significant contributors to the United Nations efforts to support Palestinian refugees, and our funding supports around 5.8 million refugees annually.
Yeah, remarkable, isn't it? So tonight I am asking, are Palestinian refugees Britain's responsibility? Let me know your thoughts. You can email me, gbviews@gbnews.com, or tweet me at gbnews. And while you're there, make sure you go to our poll, and I'll bring you the results very, very shortly. So to debate this, I'm joined by human rights lawyer Dr. Shaoib Khan and border control expert Henry Bolton. Chaps, thank you very much. Welcome to the fray. Henry, I will start with you. Are Palestinian refugees our responsibility?
No. What is our responsibility, I would say, is to try to stop this conflict getting any worse, stop it spreading, and then to try and de-escalate the situation. And, of course, put pressure on all parties. And, of course, we've got very little ability to apply pressure on Hamas, but on all parties to try and avoid civilian casualties. But when we talk about refugees, Patrick, first of all, the Palestinians want to stay in that region. Point number one. Point number two, and we can talk about any of these in more detail. Both Jordan and Egypt are closing their borders to Palestinian refugees from Gaza, or potentially from the West Bank, although I don't particularly see that as being a problem, not in the immediate future. And why are they doing that? Well, let's talk about the Egyptians. The Egyptians are closing their borders to Palestinian refugees from Gaza because they fought a long-running war with extremists in the Sinai Peninsula. They believe that amongst those people who would leave Gaza are extremists, are hardline Hamas fanatics, who would then cause problems both within Egypt and launching or continuing the conflict against Israel, but launching it from Egypt, thereby undermining, weakening, maybe destroying the peace agreement that has existed between those two countries for 40 years. What I would say is we don't want to bring those people here or take them out of the region. Our diplomatic and aid effort should be working on keeping them within the region so that they can return as soon as possible.
I'll come back to you. Dr. Shaoib Khan, same question to you. Are Palestinian refugees our responsibility?
Well, yeah, they're everyone's responsibility. But just to answer some of the points just made, I mean, firstly, in terms of, we should be doing more to, in terms of a ceasefire, just bringing peace to the region. Just a few hours ago, the UN was trying to pass a resolution. The US vetoed it, and the UK abstained. And that was exactly what it was calling for, a ceasefire and humanitarian protection. So, of course, I think that's just rhetoric, isn't it? We're not doing anything about that. As usual, we're giving them millions, billions of taxpayers' money, but that's it. We're not really interested in peace there. We're not doing anything. But secondly, in terms of the refugees, of course, they're everyone's responsibility. I don't see why they're not. The point is, if, for instance, someone suddenly invaded France, is it just Britain's responsibility because we share a border or we have the channel?
No, but do you not think, Dr. Shaoib, I get you. I'll stay with you. Dr. Shaoib, I'll stay with you. But to be fair, if somebody invaded France and us and Spain and Germany said we're not taking any French people, then some people in the Middle East might start asking questions about that, Dr. Shaoib.
Well, they might, but they would be wrong. The whole point is they're humans. And, you don't, just because your neighbour isn't helping another neighbour, you don't shut your doors as well.
Yeah, but why aren't they helping them?
What is our moral obligation? What do we think is the right thing? Are we seriously taking, lessons from Egypt? Is that how we run our foreign policy now? Is Egypt doing the right thing or not? I just don't really understand that. And second, in terms of Egypt closing borders, I think that's despicable, of course. These people literally running for their lives and you slam the door shut on their face. Of course, that's wrong. But the point is, yes, I understand, because there's no scheme there. That's just literally a borders open, people just rushing through. And that's the whole point. instead of...
I find that, can I just say, I find that remarkable from a chap who I regularly speak to about channel migration, right? To say that they shouldn't be accepting them because there's no proper scheme there and they're just running through the borders. I do find that quite an interesting turn of events, Dr. Shaoib. Look, Henry, I'm going to go back to you. What do you make of what Shaoib's just said there?
Well, first of all, about the ceasefire. Yeah, I'm not supporting a ceasefire. Absolutely not. No way, no how. Hamas is a terrorist organisation that committed the most barbaric, the most depraved, the most disgusting terrorist attack ever perpetrated against Israel. Israel should absolutely go and hunt down these animals who are responsible. No ifs, no buts. And I tell you this, Patrick, there is no peace in the Middle East with Hamas. Peace can only occur if Hamas is eradicated. And you'll find the Egyptians would agree with that. They spent years trying to do the same thing and managed to get them out of Egypt. Now, that's the problem here is that this isn't about us feeling good about ourselves. Firstly, there are not swarms of Palestinian refugees trying to escape from anywhere but Gaza, the immediate region. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees and the ICRC will say that the best outcome from a situation like this is that refugees stay within the region and then are facilitated to move back as soon as possible, as most actually want to do. Now, I reiterate, if we just fall over ourselves trying to feel good about opening up these corridors, we are going to make enemies of Egypt and Jordan who want them to stay in the area anyway because they don't want the Palestinians to be moved away. And I tell you now, we would be opening the doors to a massive, massive national security risk.
Let's park that there.
Let's park that
there because I'll bring Shaoib in on exactly that point. Look, Shaoib, I think for a lot of people that's the actual concern, isn't it? That it would be a huge national security risk.
And that's why we need to have a scheme, because we don't have any schemes. Everyone's closing their doors. Give it a few weeks, a few months, we're going to have boatloads of people, Palestinians, crossing the channel. And because somehow, and it's all going to be young men, it's all going to be fighting-age men, as the media likes to call them, because they disabled the babies, the women, they're not going to be making those journeys. Of course that's going to happen. And then we'll have to accept them, whoever they are, because, of course, international law won't allow us to send them back to Gaza in the situation we're in. So, of course, we'll have to then let them stay. Why not open up a scheme, send flights there, like we did with Afghanistan, like we did with Ukraine? We can decide who we want to bring. Bring the women, bring the babies, bring the children, bring the people on life support in hospitals. And that's the point of these schemes. So but
then we've got to get them back. And Egypt and Jordan and the whole of the Middle East would oppose you on that, because the whole of the Middle East wants the Palestinians to stay there because they want to safeguard the concept of a Palestinian homeland, which I support. A two-state solution. And that's not going to happen if all the Palestinians leave.
Shaoib, go on.
Can we just decide who we want? I mean, I don't think it makes it. Are we really letting Jordan and Egypt dictate our foreign policy and our humanitarian policy? Is that really the main reason? Or Egypt might turn against us?
Maybe they know the situation a great deal better than we do, because they are together hosts of with Lebanon, 6 million Palestinians. They are neighbouring countries, they know the problems, and we should not be trying to second-guess them on the basis of our liberal, open-door policy that actually puts this nation at risk.
Exactly.
We've already seen Berlin tonight is an example.
With that. What Egypt and Lebanon are not part of the equation. The point is, we know the situation in Gaza. Should we have those people? Should we save the lives of those children? That's exactly what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what Egypt wants.
Not that way. Not that way.
Okay, but I'll tell you what,
we just wait until the men come over on boats.
I'm quite inclined to keep this going, actually. Henry, go on. So would you only take women in? Well, what about just women and children, Henry?
I wouldn't take anybody in from Gaza. And the reason I wouldn't is because what we've got to do is work with the Israelis to prevent civilian casualties. We've got to get, as now Biden has made an agreement with Israel that now food and water will be allowed in, even though not fuel won't, because it'll go straight into the Hamas war effort. But they are doing what they can to safeguard civilians. What we've got to do is keep them in the area. We've got to make sure that this conflict doesn't spread, that the civilian casualties don't get any worse.
Right.
And we've got to then find a long-term solution to this. We will undermine any long-term solution if we bring these people out of the region.
OK, chaps, we are going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid. But thank you. That was a proper clash. I love it. Love to see it. Thank you very, very much. It's Dr. Shaoib Khan there, human rights lawyer and border control expert Henry Bolton. I mean, completely polar opposite views. Great stuff. So, who do you agree with? As Rishi Sunak is asked if he will commit to creating a Ukraine-style scheme, are Palestinian refugees Britain's responsibility? Let's go to Twitter first. Will's been on. Thank you, Will. He says, no, they are the responsibility of the Arab countries. Mega-rich countries like Saudi Arabia should be working out evacuation plans and taking refugees. Well, it always amazes me, I kind of say that tongue-in-cheek, how little some of these Arab countries do to protect their own people. Andrew on Twitter says, Sunak needs to work on stopping the small boats before we even think about taking any refugees from Gaza. And Johnny on Twitter says, yes, it is our responsibility. We have loads of room and resources to help our fellow man. Johnny, hey, look, it's a view, and maybe you live in a different part of the country to me. Maybe you live in a different part of the country to a lot of people. Maybe you do have room, OK? I know a lot of people don't. But I respect your view, Johnny. Now, your verdict is in. 6% of you agree that Palestinian refugees are Britain's responsibility. Can I just say, even one of our polls, that is a stonking victory.